He's the quarterback consultant for the Quarterback Summit, former QB in the National Football League. Jordan Palmer, good to see you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
So let's just walk through this here. Who are you mentoring for the 2018 draft here?
It's actually the word I choose. I'm not a big guru or whisperer guy. I've got three awesome guys. So Sam Darnold from Southern California, I met him in high school. Been working with him for years. I think he's pretty well documented, all the things that he's done. Josh Allen, 2 years ago, no one had heard of. Now it's all everybody's talking about. Kid from Fresno, Wyoming, and has had this just kind of meteoric rise. And then I think one of the most interesting prospects in the draft, Kyle Allen, a kid who did not get a combine invite, transferred to 2 schools, has a crazy story, but is going throw for throw with these guys every single day, and had about 11 private workouts with teams who's climbing some boards really late.
Interesting.
Yeah.
A quarterback who's not invited to the combine has 11 workouts going on right now.
Yeah, it's been fascinating to watch the intrigue around him, and the more people dive into the story, and then when they work him out in person, they hope that people like me don't go on TV and talk about them.
Okay, well then let's put a pin in that for a moment, because I do want to, we'll use that as a tease for our conversation we've got going on right now. So you said you met Sam Darnold here in California in high school. Okay.
Yeah, growing up.
How'd you get hooked up with Josh Allen?
I had heard a bunch, because he had decided to come out not this year, the year before, and then got rush of the media and agents, and he's from a tiny town. And the maturity for him to say, I think I need another year to do this and grow and experience all these things. I paid attention to that. I thought that was a very mature decision. So then I invited him to one of my QB Summit camps that I have all off season for high school kids and a lot of the top college players. And I had him and Jarrett Stidham, who's at Auburn, will be out next year, and Sam Darnold, and they hit it off. Got a chance to see it in person, get to know him as a kid, and immediately identified him as somebody I think I can help and want to be involved with.
Well, then let's talk about Josh Allen a little bit, because in this crazy hamster gerbil wheel that we call the talent evaluation portion of the NFL calendar, it seems like it's his turn to be mentioned as the first overall apple of the Cleveland Browns' eye right now. The knock against him is that he's inaccurate, that he's an inaccurate thrower. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I think all these guys coming out, it's getting to the point where college football and the NFL, they're almost two different sports. The language, the verbiage, what they see, not even just the talent, but what the quarterback is asked to do is getting further and further away from what an NFL quarterback is asked to do. The play that Deshaun Watson scored on to win the national championship, that whole entire play call was 5 words. And yet in the NFL, you can get H set to gun spread right H, hot tool, China drive, F read, alert Mustang dragon on a white 1. That's a completely different set of skills to have. And so as these guys go through it, accuracy is one of those things where they're not asked to make all the same type of throws they are in the NFL. So trying to evaluate somebody's accuracy like Josh early in college, it's hard to do to project against it in the NFL, because he didn't play with a single NFL type receiver, and he didn't really play against any NFL DBs. So it's really a kind of a hard comp to make.
And the 5 words that Clemson used to call the play was, let's run the pick play?
Yeah, run the pick play to the right.
And
wow, really?
Yeah.
Come on.
Alabama fans in there?
No. Look, and Watson obviously made the transition from the 5-word play to the, I don't even know what the hell you just said.
How many they were.
No, but the obvious comparison for Allen, and it became even more so during our combine coverage on the NFL Network, was his measurables were almost down to the inch, pound, 100th of a second to Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
I mean, it was remarkable. Anytime I mentioned it on the air with Mayock sitting to my right, or on the air sitting here with folks like you to my right, I get tweets like, he's inaccurate. He's not the same as Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz could throw it through a hoop. He could throw it in a window, and Allen cannot. What can you do as a mentor, not a guru or a whisperer, to fix that?
Yeah, I think mechanics, when it comes to throwing, it's about being able to do the exact same thing over and over and over again. And there's always going to be times when you're off schedule, right? When you have to lean, you're going to have to throw, you're running for your life. But the reality is, if I said, I'll give you $1,000 to hit a jump shot, and you can either shoot a free throw or a fadeaway jumper from the corner, we're all going to shoot free throws. And so how do I build a routine where when I can, I throw the ball exactly the same every single time? Josh was 56% at Wyoming. The more tape I watch, the more impressed I am that he was 56%.
Why is that?
Because what's happening on the other side of the throw, there's two sides of it, right? There's what he's doing with the ball, where he's throwing it, and then there's what's happening. And so in my opinion, what happened is you've got very little separation and you've got different route depths. And so it's really hard to anticipate. And we know some guys who played in the NFL and had great careers who don't have strong arms. I do not think you have to have a giant arm to be able to play in the league. But when there's not that separation or timing, then you have to throw the ball late. And he throws the ball really hard and it's really cold there. So it ends up being really difficult to manufacture completions. In the NFL, me understanding the type of talent he's going to be around, and then watching him for the last couple months, he can throw with anticipation. He can separate people. He can throw people open. So it's just going to become a repetition thing. And for mechanics, can you do it over and over again?
Jordan Palmer here on the Rich Eisen Show. The layperson hearing that would say that's an excuse making. I'll be honest.
100%.
An evaluator might understand that language right there. What do you think it is going on right now with the evaluation? Are they seeing what you were seeing, or might it just be the idea that you're trying to cover up for whatever this young man might lack to be the first overall pick in this year's draft?
Yeah, I'll say with all these guys, and I'll say this every year moving forward, none of these guys, the jump is too big. None of these guys, I don't think I'll ever sit here and say, this guy's ready to dominate week one. It's just it's too different. It's on a completely different level. So you have to go, all right, is he accurate enough to be able, him as in any player?
Yes.
Is this player accurate enough to be able to make the free throws, take all the easy gimmies, and separate and create separation with players? And is he accurate enough to be able to throw people open? And I think when people look at him, and especially through these private workouts, I think they've been able to check that box. But you also have to measure that against who the person is, right? And is this the type of person who's going to remain all in and constantly pursue their career as if there's a problem they have to fix?
It's
and he's
amazing.
that.
The whole all-in thing. What a conversation this has been about Josh Rosen too. And I know you don't have any stake in that at all. I do want to ask you this question though. What is your take on the idea that Josh Rosen might not be all in because A, he comes from a family of means and he doesn't really need it. B, he asks why instead of saying okay. C, that he might have other interests. What do you, as a guy who's played in this league and has been around a bunch of kids, and I'm sure have met Josh on many occasions, what do you make of that whole?
Yeah, I've been around Josh since high school, actually.
Right.
And when I look at Josh, I see a guy who, from a talent perspective, I was talking to a lot of folks in the space, and it's pretty unanimous across the board. This guy mechanically is really clean. He's got an absolute hose. He's more athletic. I think we saw it in Indy. Some people were surprised at the numbers, saying, wow, this guy's more athletic than I thought. And I was not surprised by that at all. I think what's happened is he's a very, very capable, highly intelligent guy. That's well documented. And when you're in high school and college, particularly in Los Angeles, you have a lot of opportunities to get interested and get excited about a lot of different things. What I think is going to happen with Josh Rosen is once he gets into the NFL and he does that 12 months out of the year, I think he's going to shift to all in. I think people are right to ask those questions and question him on those things based off of what he's done to date. But he's the type of guy, I think, once he gets into the NFL, he's going to see it as all in an opportunity. He's going to realize the 12-month aspect of playing quarterback. And I think he's actually going to dive in, really lean into that. And I actually think Josh is going to be a phenomenal player.
But the idea that somebody can't have an interest outside of football and still be a high-level franchise quarterback, do you agree with that?
No, not at all. Because I think one of the things you have to be able to do as a quarterback, as a franchise quarterback, is compartmentalize. I mean, look at Drew Brees. I mean, he doesn't have a charity golf tournament. He has a massive foundation. He also has 4 kids. He's an amazing father. I mean, like, as a father, I know as a father, like, that's not something you do on the side. And so these franchise guys, I look at it, they have to be triple threats, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And the physical side, you have to know what to fix. You have to know what to put in your body, how to take care of yourself. The mental side, you have to learn all the stuff.
Yeah.
But on the emotional side, these guys marketing for them is a business. They have to compartmentalize that. Family, their philanthropy, what they do in their community, all those things. And I think that Josh, being as capable as he is and intelligent as he is, Josh Rosen is a guy who's, once he kind of grows up and gets through the first couple years of learning what the league throws at you, I think he'll lean into that, and I think he's going to thrive.
And what about the idea that Baker Mayfield can get triggered? Can get triggered. That's a red flag. What is your take on that, Jordan?
I think Baker is fascinating because I see all the the immaturity that's come out, that's not even an opinion of mine, it's just out. But at the same time, I really honestly think that a walk-on winning the Heisman is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen, and earned it. It wasn't a down year. It wasn't any of those things, and was up for it, I think, 3 times. So I don't know him too well personally, but I think he feeds off positive feedback, and he matches the work ethic to be able to go and create positive feedback by playing at a high level. And I actually think his skills do translate. With that being said, people want to talk about how there's Russell Wilson's short and Drew Brees is short. Look at them thrive. There was also 11 years between those two guys. So it's not automatic that there's 3 of them every year. But I do think Baker's one of those guys who can.
All right, Jordan Palmer, let's take a break. When we come back with the QB consultant for QB Summit, I want to hit Darnold.
Yeah.
Because he might be the guy number 1, and if not Giants, and then if not Giants, then somebody might jump in and get him. I mean, there's all sorts of fascinating things. And then Chris Brockman and I noticed something at his pro day. I don't know if you heard us talking about it before.
I did.
Big red flag for us.
Yeah.
Ball cap. Hold on, don't answer it now. But, you were there in the rain. Ball cap.
Water on your eyelashes is your Achilles heel as a quarterback.
Oh, red flag gets even more beat red. Oh, man. Okay.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about that. Oh, no. Talk about that next here on this edition of the Rich Eisen Show with Jordan Palmer. Give an update with Jordan Palmer spending a second segment with us here. Some names of players that he is mentoring as we speak. Go for it.
Which quarterback would you take first overall? We'll start at the bottom. 15% Baker Mayfield, 21% Josh Rosen, 31% Sam Darnold, 32% Josh Allen.
Okay. So
Josh got better today.
He did get better.
Wow, since yesterday.
Well, that's the crazy thing is people are obviously.
I wasn't even with him.
You look. Well, I mean that's how good you are
Exactly.
at mentoring, Jordan.
It's all me.
Now, again, this is kind of the Jim Mora question, where he said, and he's on our show tomorrow, that Darnold's a better fit in Cleveland than Josh Rosen was, and a lot of people thought that was maybe denigrating Rosen. I'm going to remove that from your answering arsenal here.
Okay.
Because I know you, as a mentor, you're concerned about fit more than where they're actually placed.
Yeah.
That these guys are absolutely both worthy of the number 1 overall pick. Who is the better fit for the Cleveland Browns, do you think?
With as much
Allen?
makeup turnaround as they've had there, new running back, new receivers, I think it's hard to look at it. Plus, new offensive coordinator, Todd Haley. Mm-hmm. And not just Todd Haley being a new offensive coordinator. Todd Haley's coming off of Ben Roethlisberger, who's his own person to work with and wants things done. So I don't have a clear picture of exactly what Cleveland looks like in 2018. And I don't think anybody really does. I think that's what Cleveland's doing right now is just drawing the picture. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to answer that. I think in terms of the market of who's a better fit, I think they're both, Sam and Josh, those guys are both a small market. I think they thrive in a small market. People want to say because Sam Darnold's from Los Angeles that he's this Southern California kid, but the reality is he's from a tiny little surf community called San Clemente. That's where he's from. He happened to play at SC. Josh, on the other hand, I've made the comment to people that if Josh were to go to Buffalo, he'd be the first-round quarterback that was available to go to Buffalo, that him going to Buffalo would be the biggest city he's ever lived in. Be a massive market. So in terms of the fit for Cleveland, I can see both those guys fitting there. Sam, I know, has been talking about it for a long time. He's big on wanting to be the reason that something turned around, and the way that his freshman year was going at SC, I think that was an amazing feeling for him to turn that around and rattle off 8 straight. And I know that's why he's talked a lot about Cleveland since the beginning. Not about me going number 1, just about Cleveland. And for Josh, I think he likes cold weather and that stuff.
Well, what about the New York market? Because both of them, either one of those guys could wind up as a Giant with Eli Manning sitting there in front of him.
Yeah.
Which one do you think is a better fit for the New York market?
I'd say Sam has the experience of 2 years under his belt of being in Los Angeles and what that means. But at the same time, I've just watched Josh, who on paper should not be that comfortable in the media. He should be more nervous. He should be stressed out about all this attention and all that stuff. And he just hasn't been. I haven't known him for 10 years. And so I was kind of anticipating him being overwhelmed by the last couple of months and everything that's happened. And he hasn't been. And so I could actually see either of those guys fit. I could see all 4 of those guys fitting in a big market. Obviously, Baker has had so much experience being on the spotlight. And Josh Rosen is an LA kid from Los Angeles, big market. So in terms of New York City, big market like that, I can actually see all 4 of those guys thriving.
We've got Jordan Palmer here on the Rich Eisen Show. A few more minutes left with you. Darnold struggled in his bowl game against Ohio State and looked to the sideline every single time for the play call or for whatever's going on with an audible, and then had some issues, obviously, holding on to the football for his year with USC this past year. How do you address those concerns? Hearing those are the red flags involving
for sure
Sam Darnold.
And there's been struggles, I think for any of these guys really throughout their career. I mean, none of these guys
but
have
him
had a
in
meteoric
particular,
rise.
and he could be number 1 overall here. So.
Absolutely. I think the biggest things you have to address with Sam, which are on tape and real, this isn't some private stuff, is ball security in the pocket. That's been an issue for him. That's not a drill I can do. I'm not going to tackle him, in a throwing setting. With that being said, there's also a bunch of plays on tape where he holds on the ball with one hand and he makes somebody miss, and he runs over here, sets up and throws it across the field, and it's a big play. So there's a lot of risk and reward in his game as an 18, 19, and 20-year-old. I think as he matures into a pro, that's something that staff is going to need to address. It's not about saying keep 2 hands on the ball, because that also says don't move around so much and make these amazing things happen. There is a give and take. Those two things hold each other in tension. And so he's got to do a better job of mitigating that risk. In terms of even just the Ohio State game, I think we saw 2 different level programs playing. I think SC's building. I think they're going to be better this year with the young quarterback they have coming in. But at the same time, you're watching a D-line. You're seeing 2 different level programs playing. I think Ohio State was a different place a year ago. Again, I think SC's going to bounce back and have a monster year this year. But so with Sam, you got to look at it and you go, okay, is he turning the ball over because the spotlight's too big or because he's scared to get hit? Because those are 2 things those are real issues. You should not take somebody. I don't think that's the foundation of why those struggles occurred. I think him being loose with the ball was him also being creative with the ball. And I think some of the turnovers that he's had forcing the ball in there is them having to make a play and having to create. And that's just something you have to grow through. And we see a lot of young quarterbacks in the NFL doing the same thing. I mean, Peyton Manning, how many picks did he throw his rookie year? Mm-hmm. He did it his rookie year, not in college. So Sam's going through those growing pains, turns 21 in June. With that being said, for a young guy, he's had really good experience of all the spotlight on him, face of college football, having to go through those issues, and I think he's ready to come out of it.
And what about our red flag here at the Rich Eisen Show that he wore a ball cap in the rain? Was he afraid of getting his elite hair wet?
He was absolutely not. I agree, though. How did he not make the pool for best hair?
Well, he's not.
Do you
in
have
the league
any
yet.
other redheads in there?
He's not. No, there's no ginger.
Is that even fair?
There's no
gingers,
ginger
no
contingent.
gingers.
No, but it's a tough.
That's not even fair.
He's not in the NFL yet. He's just a rookie. He hasn't played a snap yet.
Okay.
But stop deflecting. Why is this guy wearing a ball cap? Is he afraid of getting his elite hair wet?
It's the first I've even heard of it.
Well, this is our red flag.
Yeah.
It's no one else's red flag.
The
I'm not
amount of
saying it's-
pomade that kid has in his hair, I don't even think it would have gotten wet.
Is that a red flag? Hold on. Is a pomade a red flag? It's. I'm just trying to figure
It's
out.
a San Clemente thing you wouldn't understand.
So there was a conscious decision. Put the hat on.
No, I think he probably just grabbed a hat that day. He actually never wears hats. That's what's funny about it. But no, and we had a chance.
Decision making, red flag.
Yeah. SC wanted to move the throwing up too to keep it from the rain, and his response was like, let's just
Yeah, we heard
throw,
that.
right?
We heard that
The reality is
that it came out
look
like
at who's picking at the top of the draft. You want to not throw in the rain? You want to throw in the rain? I mean, Josh Allen's pro day was 2 days later. We're sitting here going, if it snows, let's go outside.
So the headline is that the headline is that Sam Darnold is not afraid of getting his elite hair wet.
No, I think that I think that's accurate. I think he's perfectly fine with
All
it.
caps.
And then before we move on to Kyle Allen, because I do want to go full circle here, you said that the USC program with its young quarterback is going to bounce back. What can you tell me about this kid, JT Daniels?
Yeah,
right?
JT. I've been been involved with him since like 7th grade. I've never really seen anything like it before.
What?
I've been doing the Elite 11 for a long time. To have somebody skip their senior year in high school and it be a good decision. And he was Gatorade Player of the Year last year as a junior, and he's foregone his senior year of high school. And he's enrolling at USC early. Never seen it before.
How old is he? 17?
He's 18. He was held back, but he still played high school football for 3 years.
Okay.
For him to do what he did, and I know it's high school football, but still, just in terms of what I do for the draft, JCV's been sitting in these meetings for 3 years. It was really cool this year. He won Gatorade Player of the Year, and Deshaun Watson, as part of his Gatorade partnership, gave him the award. They threw together for the first time 5 years ago. He's just been around it. It's going to be a competition. They've got some great quarterbacks at SC. If JT ends up being the guy, I don't think there's a ton of drop off at the quarterback position at SC this year. And I think Sam's, one of the top picks.
Yes.
Which is a bold statement. I know that. And it'll be cool. You guys can either make fun of me or have me back on.
We
and
don't
talk
make
about
fun,
it.
we don't make fun of anybody except if they wear a ball cap in the rain to protect their elite hair.
And that makes sense.
And so who is Kyle Allen? I know he's obviously fans in the state of Texas, A&M and Houston know who he is. But in terms of being on the draft radar screen, kid wasn't even at the combine.
Yeah, I wasn't even invited. Because of my involvement at the young age with these guys, I ended up following these stories around a lot and seeing the journeys these guys go on. And this was a kid who was the top recruit in the country. He came out Deshaun Watson's year, so they've been friends for a long time. And watching him go to A&M, play as a true freshman, light it up, really, really terrible set of circumstances. His sophomore year at A&M leads him to transfer to play for Tom Herman, who says, "You'll sit out a year, and then we'll build this really cool thing together." But Tom had to do what's right for his family, got an offer at Texas. You got to go do that. So he inherits kind of a system where they want to run the ball as a quarterback. And here's this guy who's an elite arm talent, really, really talented. And all along, really, there wasn't really a gap between him and the other guys like Deshaun Watson, high school and in college, and just was a victim of some crazy circumstances. I paid attention to how he handled those circumstances. I think quarterbacks inevitably are going to get faced with success and adversity, and you have to be really good at handling both of them. You can't just be good at handling one of them. And he's handled both so well. So now, 3 months, living with Sam and Josh, throwing every day, on the board together, competing. He's right there. He's throw for throw with these guys. He's actually better on the board. They would both agree with that. And he's got a ton of private workouts set up, and he's with somebody right now, and he's a kid who's going to get drafted now.
Who's he with right now? Come on now.
Yeah. Well, he's got a bunch of teams. He's been really bounced around with. He's an Arizona kid, so I know Arizona loves him. I know Seattle loves him. The interesting one is nobody knows what New England's going to do, but he's the kind of guy they find. He's the kind of guy they go, oh, no one knows about him. So that's going to be, I think, what's really fun for me on draft weekend is watching how Kyle Allen's story unfolds, because he's a guy who's going to play in this league.
Seattle, huh? Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
There's one quarterback on that roster right now.
That's right.
They were in the market for a quarterback last draft, too.
It's great stuff, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. Congrats on what's become of your mentorship.
It's fun.
How's your brother? Is he good?
He's doing great. He's gotten really gray. He looks exactly like he used to. Just add like 15 pounds, a little bit more gray hair, and just a constant snow jacket and beanie on. He moved to Idaho.
He's let it go? Is what you're saying?
He's let it go. He's done.
Damn.
He's done.
He actually got hurt a long time ago. His nickname that I call him, he got hurt and put on a ton of weight a couple years ago. Not a ton of weight, but he got bigger. I started calling him Jacarson.
Carson Palmer?
I call him Jacarson.
How do you like that?
He didn't respond to it well, but his best friends call him Chunk, so it was the same result.
Oh, wow.
You know his guys, Jake and Grant.
No,
those guys.
Rich has actually never seen Goonies, Jordan, so I don't think he would get that reference.
No.
We should have Carson on and ask him to do a truffle shuffle.
That's a request I never thought I would make of Carson Palmer.
Yeah.
Or Jacarson. Yeah. Wow. That did not sit well with him, huh?
No, he didn't like that.
Good luck on everything going on with you, Jordan. Don't be a stranger. Come on back anytime. I know you're down the road, so to speak, here in Southern California. At JW Palms on Twitter. And again, Jordan Palmer, you can check everything out. What's the website is
QBsummit.com.
QBsummit.com.
Trying to help some young guys on their QB journey.
Fantastic. Yep. Thanks for coming in. Good luck with your guys. You got it.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.